I want to share with you all something pretty cool that I learned when trying to build out this starter kit sales page. Basically, when someone comes on and wants to buy the starter kit, all of the code is maintained on a private repository. And I had to figure out a way to basically send out invites to people once they have bought the starter kit package. So it turns out there's this cool OctoKit library you can install, which helps you integrate directly to the GitHub API. And I'm going to show you how I kind of did that in my code. But let me walk you through the flow. So I'm already logged in as a user, and that user is created in my Drizzle account over here. As you can see, we have 2 users. Now I'm going to go over back to the kit page, and I'm going to go ahead and purchase, and that's going to take us over to Stripe. And I'm going to type in some basic placeholder information. I'm going to go ahead and hit pay. And by the way, this isn't the actual price. This is just a bunch of placeholder text. But once you've successfully bought the starter kit, Stripe sends us back a webhook. And then I go ahead and create a purchases record here. And you can see that I'm tracking webdevcody@gmail.com bought the starter kit. So this is kind of how I'm tracking when people have bought something or not. Now, the second thing I'm doing is I'm actually setting a role. I'm kind of using role-based authorization on this to track if a user should have access to view the purchases or not. So notice that now it says view purchases over here. If I go ahead and click this, so that'll take you over to the documentation page. And this is going to walk you through how you can actually get started with this. So the first thing that I'm going to prompt the user to do is you can click on this button here, and that's going to ask you to type in your GitHub handle. So over here, I'm just going to go ahead and type in my other GitHub handle, and then I'm going to go ahead and click request access. That's going to use the OctoKit npm package, and then it's also using a GitHub API key to make a request to the GitHub API. And then if I go and click access starter kit, I'm currently logged in as my WebDevCody account, but if I were to refresh this page, you'll see that an invite was automatically sent out to my other GitHub account. Okay, and so the user is going to come here and click on this invitation link. They're going to be able to see their invitation, they can accept it, and then they'll get access to all the code. So that's how I'm kind of putting a paywall in front of a private GitHub repo. Hopefully that doesn't breach any type of GitHub private repo terms of service, but I think it should be fine, hopefully. If not, I'll have to put it in a zip file and just put that behind a paywall. But how does this actually work? How did I achieve this? Well, it's pretty straightforward. The first thing I had to do is I have a starter kit button. And so that is what's being displayed inside the documentation in the MDX files, but also at the top here. So you can either click this button or this button. They both load the same view. And what this is doing is it's creating a form. If I go find the starter kit content, let me find that. Here are the links that are displayed in the header. And you can see I have a starter kit button here, and that's being passed in a code content. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because code content has to do some server-side stuff to figure out, the user session. And then it's going to basically generate a form over here where we can enter in the GitHub handle, and they can type in their GitHub username, and then we can click request access. So this calls a server action. And over here, the server action, again, it's just making sure that you're logged in. And then it gets the form data. It checks the GitHub value you're passing in. And then I call a use case, and I pass it the session of the user and then also the GitHub string. Okay, let's just go down here. And this is calling a method called add collaborator. And then it's also updating the user's GitHub handle. So the add collaborator, let's check that out. That's just using OctoKit to basically add that user to the WebDevCody organization. This is the repo that I'm trying to allow people to give access to the private repo. And then this is a username I want to send the invite to. Second thing I had to do is just set up this GitHub token, which I'll walk you through in a second how that works. But once I send out the invite, I also update in the database. I keep track of that handle inside the schema. So let me go to my schema file and go to GitHub. I keep track of this to see if a user has actually entered in a handle or not, because I'm using that to basically conditionally render out if it's going to be the form or if it's going to be a link to the starter kit. And then that's again over here. If I go to users, you'll see that that should pop up right here. If I were to refresh, let's click on that refresh button over here. So there is my GitHub handle, and that is why the UI is showing this instead of what it was before. So that's pretty much how that works. Let me show you how to set up the GitHub key because it's a little bit hidden. So over here, if my face wasn't hiding, you click on this drop down, you go to settings. And then on the left, hopefully there's nothing secret I'm going to share here, but you go down to the very bottom, there's like a developer on the left. Let's go to developer settings. And then after that, you can go to personal access tokens, and I can go to fine grain tokens. And this is a token that I basically created. So this is the token I created, and you can actually give it fine grain permissions, right? So for example, I can give it access to only some repositories. In my case, I only gave it access to the WDC starter kit, and I gave it access to only be able to read and write as access to administration. So that allows this token to be able to call that method that I pointed out in my code, which was here. And because I have access to call this function, I can just send out invites to anyone who were to buy the starter kit. So I'll be honest, I've never set up a fine-grained token like this, and I never set up a user flow that actually is able to send out invites. So I thought this is pretty cool. I wanted to share with you all in case this is something new for you all as well. Pretty cool stuff. I'll probably just keep making update videos on this until it's finally done, and I'll see if anyone is even interested in buying this. I do plan to have a starter kit include like Next.js, ShadCN, Drizzle ORM. We're going to use Tersa for the database, NextAuth for the authentication. And then I do want to add in like role-based authorization. I'm just going to keep adding on to this until I feel like it's worth paying for. But I do also plan to add in, I think, 2 projects, right? So right now, this is a one-time purchase, the starter kit, and you do get access to all the code that was used to build this like landing page and all this stuff. But I do plan to also build a SaaS product as the second starter kit, and they're both going to be included in the bundle, right? So if you buy the starter kit, you're going to get access to both, and I'll probably actually just send off an invite to both repos, because you never know. Maybe you want to build a website that sells one-off things like I'm doing here, or maybe you want a website where you actually have monthly subscriptions. That would be very useful as well. Anyway, I'll just keep on updating you on this if you guys are interested. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Other than that, have a good day and happy coding.